Whoa, kitty! Look who's here! All our fans are out there! I believe this open tag began by Paddy's potato peelers, and it was an open tag encouraging us to show some of the sub-collections within our collection of knives. Now, I suspect anybody that has a collection of over 100 knives probably has knives that are a sub-collection of some type. It might be that, okay, well, I collect trappers and I collect modern folders or something like that, so then you would have two different sub-collections. Or it might be that I collect trappers and I collect case trappers and I collect Baron Sun trappers, or I collect, trappers and stockmans, or I collect 4 different types of stockmans, something like that. So there's all sorts of ways that you can have sub-collections, and then even you end up with sub-collections of sub-collections. It's like, not only do I collect this particular knife, but I collect within that knife this particular knife. For instance, within my Victorinox knives, my Swiss Army knives, I collect Spartans, and I also collect classic SDs. And within the classic SDs, within the limited edition ones and everything that are out there, I collect any of them that have a space theme to it. So you would see Swiss Army knives, that's a sub-collection of my main collection. And then classic SDs is a sub-collection of the Swiss Army knife collection. And then you see the space-oriented classic SDs as a sub-collection of that larger collection. So you see how you can break it down. And I do that all the time, and I got a feeling a lot of other collectors out there do as well. And sometimes that is so that you can spread it around and justify what you're buying or something. I don't know. In any case, what I thought I would do in this video is show you a couple of the sub-collections that I have, and also at the end of that, throw in a slideshow of a variety of other sub-collections that I also have without actually talking about them. So I'm going to talk about 3 specific sub-collections, and then at the end have a slideshow with a bunch of other knives also. So if nothing else, you'll see a lot of pretty bling or something. I don't know. In any case, let's get started. Okay, and what we're starting with here is my olive wood collection, but specifically olive wood handled knives that are made in Europe. I have other olive wood handled knives, but they're also, some of them are made in China, some of them are made in Pakistan. But really my concentration has been, I want olive wood handled knives out of Europe. And the knife that actually started it had nothing to do with having olive wood handles. It was actually because I wanted more mushroom knives, which is this knife here. So I actually bought this knife for my mushroom knife collection, but because of the olive wood handles, I really liked it, and it's like, man, I want to get some more knives with olive wood handles. And this particular knife was made by Mercury, and you see Inox, Italy. This knife was actually made in Italy, and it is a really nice mushroom knife. And so that was like the very first olive wood handled knife I picked up, and that kind of spurred me on to getting other olive wood handled knives. Yeah, and also has a pair of tweezers up here at the top. Everything about this is supposed to be for mushroom hunting. I've never gone mushroom hunting, so I don't know how good the knife would be or anything like that for that, but I do know the hawkbill blade works really great, and it's just a really cool looking, interesting knife. And I got on a mushroom knife fling, and that's why I picked this one up. And that was followed by, well, you know what? Let's get a stiletto. Now this one was made in Italy, and went ahead and saw this one. This is by Falcon or Falcone, and it's a really nice big old stiletto. And when it's big, I mean big. It's as you can see there, 6 inches long. Got another one too, but it is not clearly marked Italy, so I'm not sure if it was made in Italy. I do believe it was. The packaging said made in Italy, but the knife itself does not say that, and it's a nice little fishtail. But this one, you see right there, Falcon, Italy, and your proper stiletto blade. The knife is 11 inches overall, barely fitting in the frame there. And the handle material is olive wood, and you notice it definitely looks a little different than the other olive wood knife. That is because there is a little bit of differences in olive wood from knife to knife. So I got a nice olive wood stiletto, and then if you follow the channel, you know I like powder horns, so I picked up this one here by Kudeman, and as you can see here, Kudeman, made in Spain, and it's just a nice little powder horn. It feels terrific in the hand, and it's got that wonderful long Turkish clip going on. You got a nice little swedge along the top of the blade, and the nice saber grind going on, and just a wonderful little knife at 4 inches long. And then I also went ahead and picked up the big brother to it, which is actually has the ring lock going on for it, and again made in Spain. This one locks with the ring, and another big old Kudeman that is made in Spain. And finally, my Victorinox Wine Master. I've done a video on this one, and notice the difference in the olive wood between a knife made in Switzerland and these that were made in Spain and Italy. But it's all still quality olive wood handles. And this one, you know, it's a waiter's tool. It's a picnic knife as well. And so you've got your corkscrew and the lever on the back here. You got your little blade for cutting the labels. And finally, a big old honking blade there with the magic button for the release, because as you see, the blade locks, but the button here pushes the liner over so that you can unlock the blade. So that's a pretty cool release mechanism for the Victorinox Wine Master, which came with a nice leather sheath. So that is one of my growing collections of olive wood handled knives out of Europe. Now I've also got this olive wood handled waiter's tool from Lycée, I believe. That is a French company, but I do not know if this was made in France. I suspect it was made in either Pakistan or China. And then the Balladio's L'Aiguille style knives, which I'm almost certain were made in China. Still really nice knives with beautiful olive wood handles, but they're not made in Europe. Still happy to have them in my collection. And I also have this olive wood handled Bartender knife too, which I really like quite a bit. And finally, a peasant knife in olive wood, also from Palladio, which I believe was also made either in China or Pakistan. I do not know for certain on these where they were actually coming from, but you can see that's a little bit more of my olive wood handled knives, but the ones I'm really trying to concentrate on are ones that are made in Europe. I'm not even interested in olive wood handled knives that are made in the United States. I'm looking for ones that are made in Europe. Now, with that said, let's move the olive wood knives out of the way through the magic of editing and move on to my next sub collection. So enter the Gaff knives. These are a type of fishing knife. I did a video on this one a long time ago, where I explained the history of these knives and about when they came out and everything. In any case, what you have on it is this really big, large hook, which is used to basically, when you go fishing and you're trying to get a large fish into the boat, the gaff hook is used to hook into the gill of the fish and lift the fish out of the water. Obviously, it's not really good for the fish, so I probably would not use a gaff on a fish unless you were actually planning on eating it. But I do know that they are used for other reasons too. The other two blades on your gaff knife are normally a long clip blade. Looks like a mid clip. Yeah, a long clip blade. The knives are not at all comfortable to hold, I'll tell you that right now. This one here, as you see, is stainless solid in Germany. And the middle blade on this one is your hook remover, fish scaler, and your bottle opener. And that's really what you see on a gaff knife. This one's really interesting because the outside of the knife is the brass scale. You could also refer to that as, yeah, it's also like got brass liners going on, but a brass scale going there and no cover on it. And then you've just got the hole for a lanyard, and see the hook going on there. Now this one is similar, but as you see, it's got carbon steel back springs, it's got brass liners and scales, and then it's got a red celluloid cover on it. I believe it's celluloid, and you've got a brass clevis going on the back there. But the blades seem to be stainless, and you've got your big old gaff hook again. This one's kind of lazy in closing, but it closes all right, I guess. And then your blades that you got to get out. And this one, can we see that? Best made out of Japan. Notice it's still got a bird's eye rivet. And then you also got the same old, you know, your fish scaler, your hook remover, and a bottle opener. And that's really what you got with the gaff knife. And the third one I picked up is a little bit smaller, and it's shaped like a fish. It has a little bit of a flaw in it, the black plastic handle cracked there. But one of these days I'll have to get some plastic and fill that in. But otherwise, yeah, same old blades. You got your gaff hook going on. Yep, there it is, lining up. You got the fish scaler this time up front, and then you have your clip blade right down the middle. There are other designs for gaff hooks, which I will have to actually explore because I think they're very interesting knives, but they are very unwieldy to hold with that hook closed. I mean, trying to use the blades with that hook closed is very problematic. It's not at all comfortable in the hand because of, well, how wide the handle gets. But that is your typical gaff hook knife. I should also mention I do have a fourth one, but it is broken. It has a broken back spring here. Had I known the spring was broken, I would have not paid for it. As it was, the person ended up giving my money back, but and told me to keep the broken piece of thing. So it's really just for a display item right now. But it's one of those floating cork knives that has a gaff down the middle, and with the gaff hook you have a bottle opener attached to it there. And then the main blade is a spear type blade with a with an edge on the back there for cleaning your fish. So it's really kind of an interesting knife. It's unfortunate that it has a broken back spring, but that's my fourth Gaff knife, which basically is just a display piece because, well, it's got a broken back spring. Maybe if someone knows how to fix a back spring on something like this, yeah, I would definitely pay for it, because that'd be pretty cool then. Anyway, that's my collection of Gaff knives. 3 that are operational, 1 that is broken. Let's move on from there to my next collection or sub collection within my collections. Okay, I'm not going to drag them all out, but I also have a sub collection of Bartender knives. And these are a few of the ones that are more interesting. Some of them are very early Bartender knives that I thought I'd show you because of, well, the interesting concepts of their corkscrews. Now, I'll start though with this one here, the Boy Scouts of America 2010 Stanhope fountain knife that was made by Frost for the 100th anniversary of the Boy Scouts. And you've got the 2 blades on the knife. They almost always have a spear blade and a pin blade. And then normally what you will find on them is either a label cutter or a cap lifter. And this one has a combination tool that's a cap lifter and a can opener, which is kind of cool. And it makes sense for Boy Scouts to have that. But the corkscrew, I don't know about why a Boy Scout would need the corkscrew, but that's the other thing you have on it. And you can't see there. Maybe you can. If you notice, there's a picture inside the little Stanhope mirror or window. That's a little magnifier, and they have a picture of the founder of the Boy Scouts on the inside there. Can you see that? I guess you can a little bit. There, see somebody's nose and eyes there. And you'll notice that everything is like gold around here, and that was very typical. What they would do is they would anodize the metal so that it would have this gold tone to it. And that was done quite often with Bartender knives to class them up a little bit. And then they would be having an enamel paint going on them. And we have another one here. This was made by Frost, but I believe it actually came out of the Hen and Rooster factory, or it might have. Don't know for sure. Well, you do see that it is serialized with a number, and it's a pretty large number because, from what I understand, they made like 10,000 of them. This one has a relatively low number, but apparently 10,000 of them were made. And this is for the 160th anniversary of Hen and Rooster. And can we see in there? I don't know. It's not on this side, is it? Well, you can kind of see it there. What you have in there is a Hen and Rooster. I can't quite make it out this time. It's a little drawing of their Hen and Rooster logo inside the little Stanhope magnifier. And again, you have the gold tone corkscrew and the 2 small blades. This one is by Hen and Rooster. Like I said, this one was just by Frost. I believe that one's out of China. This one's out of Germany. Really nice. Very easy opening blades on this thing. And then you have the label cutter on the back side here. Now, the label cutter was the first kind of blade that was added to these knives, and that's mainly because the knives predated the Crown Cork. They came out around, well, actually they didn't predate the Crown Cork, but the Crown Cork was not in heavy use yet when these knives came out. So they really didn't think of it, of putting a cap lifter on the back there. Again, all gold tone going around. Really nice enamel painting and everything going on. Now, the next one here is an actually older one that is probably from around the 1930s, and this one is actually for Adolphus Busch, and these were made by A. Castor and Son, or A. Castor rather, which basically says Camillus. A. Castor was very much involved with Camillus at the time, and he had arranged with Busch of Anheuser-Busch fame, Budweiser beer, to make these advertising knives for Busch. So this is like Americana all over the place here. You see here, A. Castor and Brothers, New York. And that's the small pen blade. And here's the larger blade, the larger spear blade. Again, A. Castor and Brothers, New York. And you know this is a later one because this one has a cap lifter on it. Doesn't look like a cap lifter to most people, but it is not a can opener. This is actually used for opening bottles with the old crown cork. And if you notice there, it has a file there too, a little nail file. So you could actually use it to file things. But I think that was really just so that it would grip the can or grip the cap of the bottle a whole lot better. And it still has a very sharp point there so that you can actually get it in there and cut the label on your bottle of wine. Now, these are, and the other thing, if you notice here, this is not truly your typical worm style corkscrew. This is closer to what would have been a what was known as an auger style corkscrew, if you notice there. Here's a better example of an auger style corkscrew. Notice how that looks versus the other corkscrews. Notice it doesn't have that center hole going down the middle. It's much smaller, and the same is going with this. There's no real center hole on the corkscrew. This one is not as sharp as that, and that was something they started doing because they noticed that the auger style corkscrews had a tendency to rip up the cork a lot, so they ended up modifying the auger style corkscrews, and it eventually turned into the worm that we know today on corkscrews, you know, with the hole straight down the middle. In any case, this probably dates from around the 1920s or 1930s, from the style of cap lifter being used and also the corkscrew. Now this corkscrew on here would have had the same gold tone going on that you see here, but it is just worn off. But you can see, like on the back here, you see where the gold anodization is still going on, and all around the edges of the enameled portion. And so these things were really dressed up nicely, but they were really just advertising knives for Adolphus Busch and his brewery. And they were made by A. Castor and Son. And I don't know, just pretty cool piece of Americana. Unfortunately, if you try to look in there, you'll see that the paper little thing that was in there has disintegrated. There's no picture available inside the Stanhope viewer going on there. And it was called a Stanhope viewer because, well, Stanhope had developed these things and they were very popular even before these knives came out. The Stanhope viewer was around before the Stanhope knives. And we got two more here to look at. Well, three if you include the Sportsman here. But this does not have a Stanhope hole. This is actually supposed to be for cutting cigars and stuff. And it's called the Sportsman. I think I've actually showed this before in another video. Single blade item with the auger style corkscrew. So this probably dates it back into the 20s or 30s. I do not know much more about the knife. Where is it at? Universal. I think I talked about that in the other video. Don't remember right now. Put it in the notes, I guess. The Sportsman, though. Let's take a look at these two because they have really interesting corkscrews. So let's move over to this knife, which has a very interesting corkscrew on it. And if you notice here, I don't know what SKF is. This knife was made by Emil Olsen out of Switzerland. And what he was doing with the knife was finding a way to improve the corkscrew. But if you notice here, if you look closely, you see that there's some gold tone going on here and around the rivets there, and that's because this was also had some gold anodization going on in all of this relief area. So this would have looked like silver and gold unless the background there was painted a different color. It might have been painted black or something like that to help the gold stand out. But the gold anodization is all worn off. You can see on the back here that the inside area looks like it has some black going on. So I got a feeling that at one time this whole side was done in gold and black, and it must have looked stunning. This one has a main blade, and you see here Emil Olsen, and if you can barely see it down there somewhere, it does say Sweden, but you see also there, I don't know, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but definitely says Sweden underneath the turn there. And then you have the secondary blade, which is the number blade 38, and the Rostrai. And then you have a small little screwdriver over here. Don't know why he put a screwdriver on there, but that's what he did. And then on the back side here is really the cool thing about the knife, and that is the corkscrew. If you notice, you can't really lift it up, and that's because the first thing you have to do is spin it around so that you're going to get a lot more length on it, and you turn it around until it basically catches on the edge there. That stops it from moving, and then you just lift it up and you suddenly have a much longer corkscrew so that you can actually get it into the bottle and have plenty of room to grip and pull it out. And this was kind of an interesting idea that he came up with, how to make a longer corkscrew. And once it's in place, if you notice, it really cannot move off the place of you're not going to move it away from where it is. So it's fairly strong. Of course, you only have that one pin holding it in place. And then to close it, you press it back down and turn your corkscrew around. So pretty novel idea, and I don't know if it ever caught on or not. I do know that this would have been a little more complex than your basic corkscrew that was being used at the time. And now let's move on to the one in the middle, which actually has stag handles. And this one also has a fairly interesting corkscrew going on with it, but let's first take a look at the handles, which I do believe are stag. Definitely looks like stag to me. And then again, you got 3 blades. Now, these blades are not in the world's greatest shape, but I really did not care so much about the blades as I did about the corkscrew. But you see this blade has definitely been quite worn. It's probably about 70% right now. You see here that it is, who is it? E.F. Walter. And then you see guaranteed. And the secondary blade here was definitely probably broken and reshapen because you only have a piece of the nail nick going on there. But I guess you could still cut some stuff with it. Very small blade. It should have been much longer. should have been running up to the other side of the label cutter over here. And there's the label cutter. And then on the back side, you have a corkscrew, which I believe was actually patented by a caster. Adolf Caster, I believe, patented this corkscrew, and it was known as a sliding corkscrew. And if you notice there, you see the bar in the middle there, but what happens is you pull the corkscrew forward, you turn it, and it locks in place. And it locks against the spine of the knife, against the springs. And so it is tight, it is not moving, and you have a very, very long pull for your corkscrew. And like I said, I believe this was also something that was patented by Adolf Caster. I read the patent a long time ago and thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know about that. And they called it a sliding corkscrew. So people had come up with ideas on how to make a longer corkscrew fit on a small pocket knife, and they actually did try them on a couple occasions. So, and here's two examples of it. So anyway, now that's probably why you can see why I have kind of an interest in these kind of knives. I'm definitely looking for more of them. They show up very infrequently, and they do get rather expensive. This one, even with the broken stag there and worn out blades, was not a cheap knife to get. Fortunately, no one else knew what they were looking at, and the guy selling it didn't know what he had either, so I still managed to get it for a fairly low price. But in any case, there's another example of one of my sub-collections within my larger collections. And now let's just take a look at some slides and stuff. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it wasn't too boring. You know, for all those people who don't like open tags.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.